So this video doesn't necessarily have any one specific point to it. I mean, other than just, I don't know, HBO being hard-headed, I guess. You know, like it's apparent as though from the things that Tom Loeffler has said, talking about the Superfly card that's going to be taking place on February, with, you know, it's going to be headlined by Suisaketsu Rungvisai versus Juan Francisco Estrada. Carlos Cuadras versus McWilliams Arroyo is going to serve as the co-feature. And he's talking about, like, there's going to be a third fight on there. There's going to be a third televised fight on the HBO card. And he was referring to the fact that, you know, since now Inoue has moved up to bantamweight, they're not going to televise a bout of his. So, like, Inoue is not going to have any sort of, you know, maybe like a tune-up fight at bantamweight, you know, a fight to get, like, to get used to the weight division or what have you. I mean, considering the fact that Luis Neri is going to have to rematch Shinsuke Yamanaka, and Zlani Tete has Omar Narvaez as a mandatory coming up. So neither of them are available, and Ryan Burnett's doing whatever he's doing, so he apparently is most likely not available. But I mean, just off the top, even before there could be any sort of negotiations going on for Inoue to fight like maybe a Burnett or a Liborio Solis or Paul Butler, somebody, you know, so somebody that's notable at bantamweight. They're basically saying that, oh, they're not going to even have the fight in the first place. Not only that, but, you know, they're talking about, like, oh, they want to have a third fight, but it only has to be at super flyweight. They're only specifically going to do this card at super flyweight, I guess kind of similar to the way that they did the first one. But to me, narrowing the view of the entire card to just one weight class is fraught with error as far as I'm concerned. I mean, when you consider the fact that Jordan Akas is now with Top Rank, so his next fight against, I think it's Israel Gonzalez that he's going to be fighting, is going to be broadcast on ESPN. And then also the fact that Kal Yafai, you know, is insistent on not fighting Inoue, not fighting Gonzalez, not fighting at all, you know, so he's not going to be on the fucking card. As far as anybody knows, basically at this point, you know, because he's turned down offers to fight both Inoue and Gonzalez. Who's going to fill in for the third fight? You have a perfectly acceptable fight, a perfectly great, well-matched fight between Brian Viloria and Artem Dalakian for the vacant WBA title, that will either signal a new name on the scene in Dalakian, or it'll signal kind of a resurgence of Brian Viloria, you know, even at age 37, still showing that he's a world champion fighter, that he's an elite fighter at flyweight. You know, maybe not at super flyweight, but at flyweight still. You know, his only recent loss, is, plural, you know, being to Chocolatito and Juan Francisco Estrada. So if anything, that just kind of, you know, helps to prop them up even further if Viloria gets the win. Or otherwise, if Dalakian gets the win, it's a new name on the scene, you know, whether it be at flyweight or super flyweight. You know, Dalakian's a guy that very well could, you know, potentially move up, you know, if the money's right, you know, which is the same kind of sort of sentiment that you hear from any fighter at any weight class, frankly. You know, if the money's right, you know, they'll move up and take a chance at a, you know, fighting for bigger money against bigger opponents, you know, as it is. But, I mean, I don't know what HBO is getting at. I don't know why they're being so damn hard-headed with regard to, like, wanting 3 televised fights of all being at super flyweight. I mean, I kind of get it from the perspective of, you know, you want to have kind of the next rated guy, like, ready in line for the winners of the main event, and then the winner of the co-main even. You know, like, the winner of Cuadras versus Arroyo versus the winner of Suisaketsu versus Estrada just makes sense. Yeah, sure. And then the winner of that third fight maybe could fight one of the losers of the other 2 fights, potentially. Yeah, I mean, okay, that makes a certain degree of sense. But even still, like, I mean, even like with Viloria-Dalakian, I mean, even then, with regards to the winner of that fight could potentially fight one of the winners of the other 2 fights. I mean, at the end of the day, Viloria versus Dalakian is a mandated fight. So the winner isn't going to be mandated to fight another WBA mandatory for at least another, you know, 9 months to a year. So at that point, you know, they're free to take on, you know, a voluntary challenger or a voluntary non-defense of a title, you know, to try and win the title at the next weight class up. But I mean, like, holding so hard to, like, oh, it has to be a super flyweight bout. Exactly who do you have that's available to have, like, this great super flyweight fight with? I mean, Jonas Sultan is still waiting on his shot at Jordan Akas, so he's not going to show up most likely. Rashid Warren is a PBC fighter, so he's not going to show up most likely. I mean, who else do you really got? Rex Cho. I mean, who's as far as I understand it, still co-promoted by Top Rank. He's not going to show up. What are you going to reuse Jamie Conlon, who just got his ass whooped by Ankas, or what? I mean, really, the names aren't necessarily there unless you just want to take a gamble on two guys that aren't as well known. I mean, I could see maybe doing that. Maybe if they're able to get Cho, like having Cho versus Palikte, which would be incidentally for the vacant WBO title. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, Palikte did have a very good win recently. I'm forgetting the guy's name off the top of my head that he beat, but he beat him on CBS Sports. I guess that would be an all right fight, but even still, like Palikte it doesn't carry like the name value or the clout, or like just the pedigree of like what Viloria and Dalakian bring. Primarily Viloria, but Dalakian kind of secondarily. At the very least with Viloria, he's a known commodity. He's a known fighter. He's been around for over a decade now as a world champion or world title contender, as it were. Depending on which portion of career you're talking about. But I think it's bullshit. Frankly, I think Viloria deserves another shot on HBO, man, against Dalakian. If you're gonna start, showing some of what the lower weight classes have to offer, show them as fully as you can possibly do it, or don't fucking bother with it at all. You know what I mean? Like at super flyweight, at the end of the day, between the two fights that they already have signed up, between Estrada and Srisaket and Quadras and Arroyo, you already have 4 high level talents all facing off against each other. You try to get your Fai isn't playing ball. You try to get Ankas isn't playing ball. Inoue is going to be moving up to bantamweight, and maybe hopefully he'll be able to show up as a bantamweight on the network and everything. And then Gonzalez is still trying to restructure his career. Maybe he'll fight at flyweight in the future. Maybe he'll stay at super flyweight. Who the hell knows? But even then, just having Viloria-Dalakian, if Dalakian beats Viloria and Gonzalez decides to move back down to flyweight, there you go. You have automatic, a very very easy fight to make. Two guys with a common opponent in Viloria that could face off against each other. I don't know. It just seems like it makes way too much sense. And I mean, I don't know what the hell HBO is doing, but it's not making a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. Nor do I think it probably is to anybody except for the people at HBO, because frankly, there's really no better commodity at 115 than the guys that they've already got or have already showcased. And trying to bring anybody new into the equation isn't necessarily something that I think is going to be guaranteed, really guaranteed, garner any further guaranteed fandom. Garner any further guaranteed eyes on the division. As it is, the people kind of know who the top fighters are at super flyweight at this point. And, introducing some new guys, sure, you can do that. But at the same time, I think if you were to spread out your vision just a little bit wider, I know that it's rumored that HBO may be showing Angel Acosta coming up soon, as a part of a all Puerto Rican champion triple header. Angel Acosta with the WBO light flyweight championship, Jesus Rojas with the WBA regular featherweight championship, and then Alberto Machado with the WBA super featherweight championship. And so in that case, in that sense, you're expanding your view all the way down to light flyweight with Acosta. And then not only that, but you got Nico Hernandez out there plugging away, potentially fighting for the IBO title for what it's worth at flyweight pretty soon. So even just expanding your view into flyweight, it gives you more to work with, between flyweight, light flyweight. So it's not just so completely focused on super flyweight. Where who knows? At any given point in time, the likes of Srisaket and Quadras could potentially move up out of the division. They're fairly large super flyweights as it is. Estrada maybe not so much, but the Quadras and Srisaket for sure. Just as much as really Inoue. Or even more so than Inoue. If you look at the fight night weights, they were both heavier than Inoue back when they all fight on the same card back in this past September. But I don't know, that's just a quick little rant. I think Viloria-Dalakian deserves to be on HBO, And frankly, if it's not going to be on there and they're only going to show the two main fights, Cuadras and Arroyo and Teresa Kid versus Estrada, I think ultimately the fans as a whole, fans of boxing as a whole, are missing out if they don't show that damn fight. Regardless of what they replace it with. I mean, there's really only a few acceptable options to replace that with, and I unfortunately don't see any of them being on the horizon insofar as what HBO is actually going to broadcast. So, unless failing like an Inoue versus Burnett fight coming up at the last minute and getting signed onto the network. I mean, shit, they showed Burnett versus Zakianov, so I don't know. I don't know what they have planned. Who knows? Maybe Burnett versus Paul Butler. I mean, maybe that would be slightly acceptable, but even still, I don't know. It's just Viloria-Dalakian just makes too much sense. It's on the same card, on the same night, in the same venue. Show it, HBO, please. Come on. It's a world title fight, man. It's not like it's these two. It's not like it's two unknown commodities. It is what it is. But that's all for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.